Hey babes, welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Brandy. I am the host of the Be Real Babe Show, a spinoff of the Be Real Babe podcast. And today, you guys, it is Monday. If you're watching this live, that means it's time to keep up with Canada for the final time this summer because your girl's taking a break for a couple months. I'm so excited to be able to do this every single week, you guys. However, with the podcast and 2 episodes on YouTube a week and 3 episodes in total, a week is getting to be a lot for me, as you guys have heard for a little bit. So this is going to be my last one. I'm going to take a couple months off on just reporting on Canadian news and Canadian government. And then I'm going to come back in September really strong, continue on talking about politics, talking about news and what's going on in our country, but going to take the summer to enjoy my home and in Kelowna here and just take some time to reset, reevaluate, and see what I can do next season, quote unquote. While I do season 10 for the podcast, I will restart the show and we'll see what I can bring then. But today, in the final episode, just before Canada Day tomorrow, I am going to have 3 different topics for you guys today, both kind of around BC, but it actually affects Canada on both topics, and then a scam alert that I just always want to bring just in case someone comes across it. And I think most of the people that are listening to the show probably will not be affected by this scam, but I do think it's important to maybe talk to your parents, your grandparents, any elders in your family to just let them know that this is not true. And so if you're interested in listening to that, stick around and we'll jump right in. Okay, babes, as mentioned, if you're watching this live, that means tomorrow is Canada Day. So wishing all my fellow Canadians happy Canada Day. I know some people celebrate, some people don't. Some people love this country, some people hate it, some are patriotic, and some are not. But no matter where I've been, I don't think there's been one year that I don't want to stop and celebrate for where we live, because we do live in a beautiful country. Things may not be as ideal as we would all like it to be. However, we do have the choices and we can stop and take a minute and be appreciative. And I, for one, like to do that on Canada Day. Regardless of what other people say, whether they want to do it or not, that's your own personal choice and you can decide. So if you celebrate, happy Canada Day. Tomorrow, I'm wearing my Canada Day jersey, my Canada cannabis hat, as well. I'll be rocking. Well, I do have my Be Real hat that I'll be wearing tomorrow, but very excited to go out and celebrate with friends and just enjoy. It's supposed to be a beautiful day here in Kelowna, so very much looking forward to it. It's kind of a tradition in our home to go downtown and just enjoy the home that we have, the place that we love so much. So that's what I will be doing. I hope you guys enjoy as well, or equally do nothing. Sit in hatred if that's what makes you happy too. All good, whatever you want to do with your time. But today I have, like I said, 3 different topics. 2, it seems like it's coming out of BC, but I do believe both topics affect all of Canada. Now we're going to be talking about the potential pipelines and the discussions that are going on with David Ebys on this side on the West Coast here. We're also going to talk about a very intense decision that was made here in BC for a local young lady here in BC, and her mother is speaking out. There's actually quite a bit going on here in and around the hospitals when it comes to childcare. I'm obviously going to take a pause on, but we'll see when we come back. But this is a really important story that I wanted to share because it's super alarming. And again, right here in Canada and BC, when we're always talked about how our free healthcare is so amazing, which, while I agree, there are some places that are dark. So we're going to go over that story. And then a scam that is hitting all over the place, which looking at it immediately, I knew it was a scam. However, I'm more worried about the elderly population, like our grandparents, our great aunts and uncles, those kind of, that kind of era that don't really understand that this, what AI is and all those types of things. So just a scam warning to all. So I'm actually going to kind of sandwich this in. So we'll start with the story. We'll start with the story in BC about the pipelines. We'll go to the scam, and then we'll go to the medical story at the end, because I do want you guys to stick around to the end, and I want that to be the last thing that you think about and the last thing that we talk about today. Okay, so first story here. Let's get to it. So in this episode, because I am technically on vacation right now and I'm trying to enjoy, I'm not going to snip any of the articles today, but I will put it in the Dropbox. When I come back next season, I'm going to find a way better way of doing this. It takes me like an hour and a half. I don't know how other people do it, but I am not great at it. So just for this last 2 episodes, same with the Diddy episode that's wrapping up this week. I'm going to be posting that probably a day late, depending on when the jury comes back, but also we'll get better at that. But I will link the articles below. So this one is coming out of CBC. BC Premier David Ebys says he's not opposed to privately backed oil pipeline to North Coast. Ebys says his position is more nuanced than a hard no, but opposes public funding for project. So this was the 22nd. So if we remember a while back, David Ebys, the Premier of BC, was like, absolutely no, we're not going to do pipelines. We're not even going to have the conversation of pipelines. Now, I don't know if it's because of backlash, of more conversations, what's actually happening on the background. I don't claim to be, but it seems like we might be moving a little bit more ahead, or there might be some areas in which we can look to see that possibly happening, which for a lot of us here in Canada, we're very on board to be opening up the energy sector, and we do it the best out of most places in the world here. So why not do it the best way and be able to profit as well? I know there's a lot more behind the scenes, but those I believe can be worked through together if everybody in Canada can profit, especially when we are not profiting as a country. So as Alberta Premier Danielle Smith pushes for a crude oil pipeline to British Columbia's north coast, BC Premier Ebys says he's not simply saying no. Instead, Ebys says he's against the public funding of such a pipeline. What I don't support is tens of billions of dollars in federal subsidy going to build this new pipeline when we already own a pipeline that empties into British Columbia and has significant additional capacity, 200,000 barrels, Ebys said on Sunday, referring to the Trans Mountain pipeline. He added there's no company currently advocating for Smith's pipeline proposal. There's no money for it, Ebys told CBC chief political respondent Rosemary Barton. Smith has been advocating for the bitumen pipeline to BC's northern tidewaters and said she is actively searching for interested private sector companies. She has suggested the pipeline's endpoint be in Prince Rupert, BC, avoiding the cancelled Northgate Pipeline's proposed terminus in another northern BC Port Kitimat. But Ebys said he wants to prioritize projects that are shovel-ready. We have major projects with private proponents, cash on the table, ready to go to hire people and build. Let's focus on those, he said. Ebys listed BC energy projects, including LNG Canada project in Kitimat and the KSI Limis LNG project north of Prince Rupert, as well as major hydroelectric projects, mining projects in the northwest, and various wind and solar projects that he said will be interconnected with Yukon and Alberta. Ebys also highlighted the fact that he recently signed on to a memorandum of understanding with Western premiers around the trade corridor that could include major energy projects such as heavy oil. But he noted there are major issues with a proposal for a pipeline, particularly the federal tanker ban on the north coast. The ban prohibits oil tankers carrying more than 12,500 metric tons of crude oil or processed oil products from stopping, loading, and unloading at ports in restricted areas covering nearly the entire north coast. Smith has said that she will convince Ebys of the pipeline's merits, which she said would include billions in revenue. It's Team Canada or not, she says on Rosemary Barton's Live earlier this month. I would hope that what would happen is that we would identify whatever legitimate concerns that a province might have and then work through them, Smith added. Prime Minister Mark Carney has said while he wants to speed up national building infrastructure projects, he wants to build consensus between governments. We will not impose a project on a province, Carney said at a press conference earlier this month. Ebys said he would be happy to sit down with Albertan officials if a private proponent came to the table without public money. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it, Ebys says. So, I mean, for once, I actually don't necessarily disagree because from my understanding, this is just from hearsay, is that when government funds projects like this, unfortunately, the money's not great. And I'm not saying that private rich people would pay better, but it sounds like perhaps, government ran stuff and projects like this aren't always the best managed. They always seem to sometimes come over budget and understaffed and all those things. And there's delays where I've heard, at the more private sector, that's a lot more investors' money, even though we as investors, as taxpayers, obviously care, but we can't really do as much as, let's say, a board that's answering to a larger company, I think is, one way to look at it. But at the same time, I know nothing about this shit, but I do know that Canada has resources, and I know there's lots of blocks, and I know there's lots of reasons why, but I would just be really great, especially when the country's in need, to move forward on some of these things, especially knowing that no matter what we do with our carbon change and all that, our taxes and all those fun things that we do, we're being stomped on by other people in the world that are going to affect that, if that's what you care about, more than us. But it seems like Canadians are always just more the focus, and we do have a prime minister that very much wants to get to net zero. Not sure how, but that's his goal, so that does concern me. However, I know there's a lot more things out there, so what do you guys feel about pipelines? I feel like most of us are for making money as well as doing it respectfully for the lands and the individuals and the homes around, but if there's already infrastructure, I guess my question is, why aren't we just doing that then? Why not put money, as said, into the current infrastructure? But I don't know, so please tell me below why that was halted and why we can't just go forward with this. So yeah, next one we're going to talk about here is just a scam alert. And again, I don't believe anybody that's listening to this that will go on YouTube, that be able to see shorts and stuff, would be a part of this, but I do think it's important to bring up because we all have grandparents, we all have great aunts and uncles, we all have those seniors that we work with, that we care about, or people that just maybe aren't too knowledgeable, but this one I thought was kind of crazy. So it's coming out of Saskatchewan. Investor alert. Impersonation scam uses Prime Minister Mark Carney's image and fake news articles to target Saskatchewan people. So when I was cruising through YouTube the other day, I actually seen an ad very similar to this, and I knew obviously immediately that it was a paid scam ad, but I could see as AI is getting better where maybe some people don't. That being said, I feel like most people that are on YouTube or that would be seeing these targeted ads would catch on. But if they're putting out something here in Saskatchewan, obviously this has happened enough to report on it. So this came from June 24th, 2025. The Financial and Consumer Affairs Authority of Saskatchewan is warning Saskatchewan people of an impersonation scam on social media using fake news articles claiming that Prime Minister Mark Carney is endorsing an online investment platform called Invest Canada and the trading platform Big Profit Pulse. Always check the registration status of an entity at aretheyregistered.ca before you invest, and do not deal with any unregistered entities, FCAA Securities Division Executive Director Dean Morrison said. Scammers often create fake news articles and mimic legitimate media and try to get you to invest based on notable figure endorsement. Invest Canada claims to offer Saskatchewan residents trading on global finance markets. Big Profit Pulse claims to offer Saskatchewan residents trading opportunities, including stocks, cryptocurrency, forex, commodities, and indices. The alert applies to the online entities using the website InvestGov.ca and Big Profit Pulse IO. Invest Canada and Big Profit Pulse are now registered with the FCAA to trade or sell securities or derivatives in Saskatchewan. The FCAA cautions investors and consumers not to send money to companies that are not registered in Saskatchewan, as they may not be legitimate businesses. If you have invested in Invest Canada, Big Profit Pulse, or any other claim, or anyone else claiming to be acting on their behalf, contact the FCAA's Security Division at 306-787-5936. In Saskatchewan, individuals or companies need to be registered with FCAA to trade or sell securities or derivatives. The registration provisions, the Securities Act of 1988, and accompanying regulations are intended to ensure that only honest and knowledgeable people are registered to sell securities and derivatives and that their businesses are financially stable. Tips to protect yourself. Always verify that the person or company is registered in Saskatchewan to sell or advise about securities or derivatives. To check registration, visit the Canadian Security Administration National Registration Search at aretheyregistered.ca. Know exactly what you are investing in. Make sure you understand how the investment product or services work. Get a second opinion and seek professional advice about the investment. Do not allow unknown or unverified individuals to remotely access your computer. Never make an investment decision based solely on notable endorsements. Scammers often create fake news articles and use legitimate media to mimic. So if you have an individual in your life that, can watch video, maybe go back to tips to protect yourself and maybe just screen record that and send that out so that if they're ever curious, they can go to aretheyregistered.ca to check out. And the reason why I'm saying this is because, as you guys know, I have been hacked and I had my whole life flipped the fuck upside down, and it was not fun. And the last thing I want to see, especially as things are getting really tough, especially with seniors these days, is for them to fall for something like this. And unfortunately, I do believe that most boomers are, for the most part, don't come at me, more liberal, or maybe not liberal, but don't hate Mark Carney as much as, let's say millennials and younger that do a lot of research or have been falling down that algorithm. So that is something that I really want to point out because I have seen myself, not on social media, but I did see this on YouTube, and I was like, holy fuck, they're really doing this. Like, I wonder if eventually there'll be some sort of prosecution. I don't know how they find people like this, but so maybe screenshot this part of this YouTube video and send it to, if you have, like I said, we all work with someone that's an older individual that's not technologically friendly, maybe they're very rarely on Facebook. Like, just let them know. Maybe they do know, or just bring it up, right? Don't want to like insult them for not knowing that, but you're like, oh, have you seen the scam going around about Mark Carney? And they'll be like, oh, what are you talking about? Maybe be like, oh, watch this, or type of thing, or bring them to this article, or just let them know that that is a thing. And I mean, not just Mark Carney. Maybe these conversations need to be had with the older generation that especially aren't on computers as much about AI and all those types of things. I guess is just with kids, we also want to warn the elderly. It'd just be different. I don't think that they're going to ask them for nudes and sextortion them, but they're definitely going to scam and take their money. And I feel like that is the population that gets their money stolen from the most. So yeah, just make sure that those are conversations that you're having with that part of your family and friends. Okay, so final article, and I need to be completely transparent that I just started following this a couple days ago, so I'm not very versed in the situation and what's going on. However, just knowing how BC is and knowing how Canada is right now, I'm not entirely shocked, and I definitely want to follow up on this, and there are Instagram page that you can go follow. I will share that in the stories in the next couple of days and make sure that I'm tagging it in this episode as well so that you guys can go and follow. So I'm just going to speak on this article here, and I highly, highly, highly suggest you guys go follow her story. I've shared it a few times on mine, but let's get into this one of the Times columnist. Leave drug-covered decisions for terminally ill child to experts, not politicians, Ebys. But Charlie Pollock's mother argues her daughter's doctor's advice was ignored. So this is from 2 days ago. BC Premier David Ebys says physicians and other experts should make medical decisions about terminally ill Langford child, not politicians. But the girl's mother argues her daughter's doctor's advice was ignored. Ebys made the comment at a media availability in Vancouver on Wednesday after being asked about the possibility of restoring coverage for a drug called Brineura, which costs about $1 million a year for a 9-year-old child named Charlie Pollock. There's no happy solution here, said Ebys. These are profound and awful decisions that have to be made by experts in the area and physicians and not by politicians. In response, Charlie's mother, Jory Fales, so sorry, girlie, if I messed up your name, says Thursday that if the government believes that, it should be listening to the girl's physician and experts in Batten disease who have recommended the girl stay on the drug. Fales said that the drug would need to have been ordered by Victoria General Hospital on Friday to be ready for Charlie's next biweekly infusion date, which is July 3rd. As of Friday morning, no further infusions were scheduled. In a letter to Ebys and Prime Minister Mark Carney sent Friday, Fales and Charlie's dad, Trevor Pollock, said the decision to discontinue the drug coverage was made without their consent. We feel strongly that this decision is negligent and fails to reflect the actual medical circumstances, they wrote. They asked for the decision to be reversed and for Charlie's medical team to be allowed to decide if and when the drug is no longer effective. This is not just a matter of policy. It is a matter of basic decency, the parents said. We are asking for you to do the right thing. As the family awaits a last-minute reprieve, they continue to plan for Charlie's 10th birthday party on July 2nd, but there is a very dark cloud. BC Health Minister Josie Osborne announced on June 18th that the province was discontinuing coverage of the drug based on the recommendations of Canada Drug Agency given the advanced stage of Charlie's condition. Though Charlie is unable to walk and talk, her family says the child is responsive and happy, and the drug has slowed the progression of this fatal disease. Children with it typically lived to be about 10 or 12 and greatly improved her quality of life. The child's last biweekly infusion was administered at Victoria General Hospital on June 19th. She's been getting the infusion since she was 3. Neuroscientist and Dr. Anika Whitman, her head researcher for the Batten Disease Support and Research Association in the U.S. and Australia, has predicted Charlie's decline will be rapid once the last of her drugs leaves her system. Canada's Drug Agency noticed its report that evidence is limited regarding advanced disease when to stop treatment. Ebys said it's a really hard and difficult and profound decisions are made by physicians every day on whether a particular course of treatment is providing benefit. At the same time, it's important to acknowledge how profoundly awful this particular case is, said Ebys. What these parents are going through with a terminally ill child, I wouldn't wish on anybody, and I certainly pray that no other British Columbians have to face this kind of trials to this family is going through. Critics of the government's decision have noted that it's not as if more children with Batten disease will be clamoring for extensive drug coverage if the province goes against the recommendation of Canada Drug Agency to discontinue coverage. Charlie is the only child in BC with the disease and one of the fewer than 20 in Canada. Okay, so again, not a medical expert. We all know this. Not a budgeting expert. But I guess what a lot of people, and I think myself, are pissed off of is, again, when we talked about earlier about where our money is going and how unhappy we are about where the money is going, I think these are circumstances where we're saying, like, hey, you know, Mr. Ebys, kindly, you've mismanaged some of the money here, so can you remove the money from where you've mismanaged and put it into Charlie if we all decide to vote? If a bunch of us come to this, like, this is where I struggle because anybody that I voted for does not speak for me. Anybody that is in government doesn't speak for me. And it's super interesting that you're saying that you and the government shouldn't be making these decisions of when children receive medications or not. It should be the doctors. But it sounds like to me, in this case, it's not Charlie's doctors. It is another funnel arm of the government that is making these decisions on when a child should and should not use this. So is it the doctors, which you said is who she should be listening to. So if the medical doctors and the people and insurance or whatever the coverage isn't listening, who is to hold them accountable? Seems like it's the court of public opinion lately because our officials aren't doing what we're asking of them. They give these half-ass whatever comments, and I'm not deep into it, guys. I cannot say that I fully understand. However, I do see money going to other places that I don't agree with, and I'm sure a lot of other Canadians and British Columbians would agree with, especially all the extra money that y'all get that work behind the bureau there to do things that a lot of us don't want you to do. You guys make a lot of money, you got a lot of bonuses. There's a lot of stuff being put into, I don't know, like all these bike lanes and all of that, because y'all are really pushing for us not to drive anymore. I won't go down that conspiracy, and I'm going to take a break from that for a couple months when we're going to jump into that once the government goes back. So this is one reason why too, it's like the government shut down for the next 2 months, you guys. So outside of news stories, I can't really talk about politics because politics are not going to go back until September. So I will go back to work and I will go back reporting when the government does. But I do want to talk about that more. Just the last 3 weeks is like no point in covering it, because they're going to be closed for another 2. So we will get back to that. But again, sure, maybe it's not your decision, but when things are being mismanaged, people aren't being listened to, who do they go to? A lot of funding comes, a lot of our taxes go to this. So who do we talk to when we're not exactly stoked about how our money is being put through taxes and things that are putting through? I don't really give a shit about all these bike lanes in Kelowna. To be honest, they're very frustrating. There's not that many people that bike. It's only really nice to bike here like 3 or 4 months out of the year. There is other transportation. So why don't we put some money into actually giving what sounds like this girl a couple more years of quality life? I've seen videos of her, she's so happy. She's smiling. She looks really great. It does not look like the treatment hasn't been working. Sounds to me like they're trying to, and I don't want this to sound distasteful, but cut money where they can cut. And if she's been on this since she's 3 and she's turning 10, that's 7 years. If it's $1 billion a year, or it was $1 million a year, sorry, that's $7 million. Just what the MAID program, I see people in the background going, well, we'd save money if we just do this. Sorry, that's just kind of what I see bureaucrats at nowadays. I hate to be that way. And furthermore, for the people that say that's not like that, you can't be like, oh, I hate big corporations and big all of this and big businesses. The government is a big corporation. It does the same thing. It has budgets. It has accountants. It does people that are literally looking at budgets all the time and cutting stuff all the time. It is not different, except for the difference is it's our money and what they're doing, and they're making the decisions, except for the company and their money. But to me, it's pretty much the same thing. But yeah, I definitely, please go look them up on Instagram. She's sharing, go support the family, go help them in whatever way you can. I'm not sure if there's a GoFundMe. Like I said, I've just got into this last couple of days and been on vacation and stumbled across this article and thought, oh, perfect. I can at least get the conversation started. Let's see where that goes. But I hope a lot of girls rally around this. This will be launched a couple days before her birthday. So happy birthday, Charlie. And I hope you have a great day, and I hope things turn. And I hope when she was supposed to get her infusion next day, July 3rd. Let's hopefully hear that they've reversed that and that they're going to continue that for at least a little bit longer, and exactly having conversation. It doesn't sound like conversations were just had. Top-down bureaucratic decisions were being made of a person's life that they're not really caring about, and they're not looking at the actual story. They're just looking at data and stats from who the fuck knows where. I don't even want to get started in that, but oh my goodness, you guys, it's been an amazing 4 months. Thank you so much for listening to the show. Like I said, on Wednesday I'll be posting. It might be a little bit later, it might be Wednesday, Thursday. I really want to wait to hear what the verdict is for the Diddy case before I post, just so I can wrap that up. So it might not launch on Wednesday, it might launch on Thursday, and then going forward for all of July and August, you will be seeing the Be Real Babe podcast posted on here on Mondays and Fridays. Everything that I just went through in season 9, except for one episode that I know will get me banned on here. So if you want to listen to that, it will be episode 217. That is strictly on Apple and Spotify, but keep your eyes open every Monday and Friday for the podcast for amazing guest episodes, talking with all my favorite people in this season. And like I said, I'll be back in September, and we'll go back to Keeping Up with Canada on Mondays, most likely, and Internet Insanity on Wednesdays. Let's see how that rolls out. It's going to take a couple months to figure it out. Again, if you're celebrating Canada Day, happy Canada Day tomorrow. But don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on notifications, because I will be back. I will be posting the podcast, so there will be content for you for the next couple months. It just won't be necessarily Canada related. It will be Canadians for the most part. There's some Americans as well, and it won't be Internet Insanity where I take a break. I think I need a long break after the Diddy case. I'm quite ready to be done with it, and I would really like to talk about other topics, but my OCD tendencies are not allowing that. But again, guys, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you for stopping by, and until the next episode, until the next season, I guess, bye. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Until next time, bye.